Oh. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana. Hari Om and good evening from Niagara Falls. A famous sadhu from Maharashtra, his name was Savda Mali. And Savda Mali had this intense trust that Bhagwan is all-pervading, that Bhagwan is present everywhere. And with this trust, Savda Mali was a gardener. And he felt, he remembered, he knew that Bhagwan was present there. And as he would tend to these vegetables, he would feel that this is his bhakti towards Bhagwan. He experienced Bhagwan in the form of vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, and on and on and on. And as we hear this, we may think that this is very fantastic, but in actuality, he is the one who sees reality, and we are the ones who are in our own fantasy. You and I, yours and mine. A Balavar student had once asked me that we chant Brahmarpanam before we eat our meals, saying that I'm God, eating is God, the food is God. So does that mean we're eating God? And the answer is yes, as long as you feel you're God also. In which case it's not eating, in which case you wouldn't have that question. But we're in this fantasy that I'm God and that vegetable is not, or the vegetable is God and I'm not. Is it so fantastic to think of a sadhu being able to feel, to remember, to know that Bhagwan is all-pervading, is infinite? From the reference point of the ocean, there are no waves. From the reference point of water, there are no oceans. We are habituated to live by the senses. We are habituated to live by the thoughts, and so we're stuck. Our Bhagavad Gita course is teaching us how to be unstuck, how to see, how to experience reality. Reviewing the middle portion of chapter 9, which we took up last week. As long as we worship the small, we will feel worry. And the reason for that is because we know deep within ourselves that the small are unable to provide what we need, which is infinite joy. So if we're feeling worry, it's because we're worshiping the small. If we're worshiping the small, we are going to feel worry. And if we worship the infinite, we are going to feel natural. Who do you feel the most natural with? Yourself. Whether you've bathed or not, you still feel natural with yourself, correct? And this is because deep within ourselves, we know that only the infinite is able to provide us with what we need, independent joy. Taking this even more meaningfully, Bhagwan is going to provide us with all we need, whether we feel it or not. Correct? And if we feel it, we do away with worry. And if we don't feel it, we hold on to worry, irrespective of whether we feel this or not. This is the truth. This is reality. This is why this chapter is teaching us how to feel the presence of Bhagwan. Bhagwan will provide us with all we need, even himself through our Sadguru. When we think of yoga and kshema, that depth of yoga that the Sadguru we need will be guided to us, and that Sadguru will guide us back to Bhagwan, to ourselves. Keeping all of these insights in mind, what should we do? We should worship Bhagwan. How? Patram, Pushpam, Palam, Toyam. Patra means a leaf, Pushpam is a flower, Palam is a fruit, and Toyam is water. I had mentioned to you last week that some of our mandirs, some of our ashrams, they have a donation tree. And this donation tree is in the form of these elements. So if someone gives, let's say, $10,000, then that person's name is written in a patra. If they give $50,000, it's a pushpam. If they give $100,000, it's a palam. And though I've not seen water in any of these donation trees, I suppose if you give $500,000, then you should be that water that allows that plant to grow. And that's not the important part. The leaf, the flower, the fruit, the water is not important. It is the bhakti. It is the love. The term Bhagwan uses is bhaktya ashnami. Ashnami means eat. Ashnami means accepts. Ashnami means enjoys. Enjoys bhakti, enjoys love. I was thinking lots about this word, ashnami. On Sunday, we had Vyasa's Anna Prashna. And if you open up the word Prashna, I actually don't know the etymology of Ashnami or Prashna, but I was thinking about this, and Prashna is like Prashna. Prashna means to question, yes? And maybe that prefix pra is showing someone who's engaged in Shravanam and Mananam. Then when they ask that prashna, that question, it's indicating that they're ready for the answer. So Bhagwan says, ashnami, that I accept. For us too, are we ready to accept that the only way to Bhagwan is love? If we keep worshipping the small, then we think that there's alternative routes to Bhagwan, and there's not. Shifting to 9:15 to 9:17. In our Vedanta and Ramayana class, we've just completed Sri Rama Gita. And for all of those in Cleveland and Pittsburgh, this is what Pujya Swami Tejamayana taught last year in Pittsburgh. So this is a review for you, correct? So everything I'm going to say you already know, correct? In Panchavati, Sri Lakshmana and Bhagwan Rama are hanging out. The weather is pleasant. There's no citizens that are coming to ask for their darshan. There's no Rakshasas that have come yet. Shurpanaka is about to come, but she's not there yet. In this Panchavati, Pancha means 5, Vata Vriksha, there's 5 banyan trees where they live. And a banyan tree, I wonder if I say it in a Sanskrit word, it means banyan tree? Banyan tree? So, there's these 5 banyan trees, and banyan trees are very strong. These banyan trees are iconic for 5 different directions of Shraddha. Sri Lakshmana has these 5 different directions of Shraddha. These 5 directions are Shraddha in Brahman, Shraddha in Shastra, Shraddha in Sadguru, Shraddha in Atma. Atma here means oneself. And Shraddha in Sadhana. 5 directions of faith. When one has these 5 directions of faith, then the questions that one would probably ask are what Sri Lakshmana asks, the prashna. The 5 questions Sri Lakshmana asks Bhagavan Rama are, what is jnana? What is vairagya? What is maya? What is bhakti? And what is Ishvara? 5 trees, 5 faiths, 5 questions. And when Bhagavan Rama begins to respond, he doesn't respond in the order of Sri Lakshmana's questions. The last response he gives is to bhakti. What is bhakti? And he gives that answer last because he elaborates on this the most. And in one simple English word, what bhakti is, according to Bhagavan Rama, is depending. Depending on Bhagavan is bhakti. Depending. I mentioned last week that if you know bhakti, vairagya comes to life. And I'm going to elaborate on that. In Mundaka Upanishad, there's a famous mantra, and this mantra begins with Pariksha Lokan. Pariksha means to examine, to reflect, to pay attention. Lokan means the world, the fields of experiences. Anyone who's engaged in Pariksha Lokan, that they're examining, they're reflecting on each moment, that person will naturally develop vairagya. Vairagya means not depending on what you've examined. Articles, beings, circumstances. These just make me worry. Pleasure, possession, position. These cannot fulfill me. So I naturally develop a vairagya towards these directions. It's living most efficiently. Why would I depend on that which is depending on another factor? And the transition process is where bhakti develops. I'm independent towards articles, being, circumstances, pleasure, possession, position. I'm becoming dependent on the divine. I'm becoming dependent on peace. Less worry, more feeling of being natural. Efficiency. We call this love. Another word to look at this as is efficiency. To depend on that which is infinite, independent. As we understand bhakti more, many of us may feel we are undeserving of this bhakti. That we live lives that are indisciplined. We live lives that are dependent on the ABCs. I'm so attached to my family. Whatever feeling you have, that feeling is associated with right now. You can change. Bhagwan answers this question on bhakti, even though Prince Arjuna, Sri Lakshmana doesn't ask. Bhagwan elaborates on how to develop this depending, and he gives 2 steps on how to engage in bhakti. Number 1 is sadhu satsanga. When we start to revolve around sadhus, brahmanas, those who revolve around the shastra, then depending on Bhagwan becomes natural. And the second step is dharma palana. Dharma palana means to follow, fulfill, protect your responsibilities. And if you think deeply about these, who brings a Sadguru or a sadhu into your life? It's Bhagwan that does, correct? Relatedly, who brings our dharma, the responsibilities we have into our life? Bhagwan does too. Through sadhu satsanga and dharma palana, we start to feel the presence of the Creator. We start to feel virtues. When we're around sadhus, we see their virtues. When we follow our responsibilities, we know virtues. I'm going to share this in different words. Right now, we are vasana anusari. Anusari means tied around, revolving around vasanas. This feeling of smallness. And when we're tied to vasanas, we're directed towards vishaya. Vishaya means sense objects. Vishaya means pleasure. I'll tell you the etymology of the word vishaya. It's most powerful. The etymology is vishvanti badnanti. Vishvanti badnanti, that whose nature is to bind. So what is the nature of a sense object? The nature to bind us. What is the nature of pleasure? To make us stuck. To pull ourselves out of this vasana anusari, we have to become shastra anusari. We have to revolve around, we have to tie ourselves to the science of self-development, the science of independent joy. And so today we may feel undeserving of bhakti, of Bhagwan, but tomorrow, by changing today, tomorrow, we may not feel this sense of being undeserving of the presence of our Creator, the presence of virtues. In Shloka 30 of chapter 9, Bhagwan says, when someone takes up the sankalpa, takes up the promise to oneself that they will engage in sadhu satsanga, in dharma palana, that person should be called, that person should be known as a sadhuhu eva. Their primary title, their primary designation should be sadhu. Because they're now invoking the grace of Bhagwan, of Sadguru. All of us are eligible for bhakti. All of us are deserving of bhakti. It doesn't matter about our varna, that is the color of our personality. It doesn't matter about our karma, the work we're engaged in. It doesn't matter about our gender. It doesn't matter about our income. This is for all. How will we know if we're engaged in depending on the Creator, depending on virtue? We will be raising the quality of our thoughts. We will be reducing the quantity of our thoughts. And we will be redirecting the flow of our thoughts. When I'm in sadhu satsang, I'm raising the quality of my thoughts, correct? When I'm engaged in dharma palana, I'm following my responsibilities. I reduce the quantity of my thoughts. I don't play as many mind games. It snowed a lot here in Niagara Falls today. And I'm leaving for Pittsburgh tomorrow. I leave for Bharat the week after that. I just came from Cleveland on Saturday night. So today I was thinking, maybe I shouldn't have Bhagavad Gita class. Let everyone finish the end of Bhagavad Gita, this chapter 9 themselves. And that thought came. And as soon as that thought came, I ended that thought also. I said, this is my opportunity to study. Others may also think this is an opportunity. The mind will play games, no? That dharma palana ends that game. You just reduce the quantity of your thoughts. And then naturally, what will one be thinking about? Where will one's thoughts be going? Towards the Creator, towards virtues. That's the redirection of the flow of our thoughts. This end portion of chapter 9 is like an awesome music album. Hit after hit after hit. Every shloka is to be memorized. Every shloka is to be contemplated on. And if I can leave you with one last message from Bhagavan from chapter 9, Bhagavan says to Prince Arjuna, Na me bhaktaha pranashyati. That my devotee, my disciple, never perishes. And you can take that at a light level, that whatever a disciple works towards, even if they die, that will not go away. Their efforts have not gone in vain. Or you can take this at a deeper level, that one transcends the fear of death, the fear of the unknown, the fear of sorrow. One transcends fear. Who's saying this? Bhagavan. And no word of Bhagavan's is in vain. Know it, remember it, feel it. I shift to 9:18, which is a review of chapter 9. We began this chapter with the title of Raja Vidya. This is a royal knowledge because this is the only knowledge that will lead us to peace, to us feeling natural, to us not becoming, but us being. This is also known as Raja Guhya, that this is a royal secret. And this is a royal secret because it is beyond being an extrovert. You can't perceive it, you can't think it. Knowing the beauty of this knowledge, then Bhagavan says, I am not in them. What is this knowledge? I am not in them, and they are not in me. I am not in them, they are not in I. And if Bhagavan is not in us, and we are not in Bhagavan, that means there's only Brahman. If the Creator is not in creation, and creation is not in the Creator, that means there's no Creator, there's no creation, there's only Brahman. Brahman is existence, awareness, joy. What does existence, awareness, joy do? Nothing. Just being. And I know this is extremely subtle, perhaps the most subtle teaching we've ever come across, which is why there's still 9 more chapters. But if I can give you a message from this one portion of chapter 9, it is to live with utter humility. I didn't say just humility, I said utter humility. Because every movement I make, every change, every effort, that's all becoming. But if I am humble my focus is not on the movement, the change, the effort. It's how is all of this happening? If this is not known clearly, we have a tendency to think and speak and act in vain. Mogha. We studied this quite thoroughly. Mogha is to be in vain. And the feeling of living a life of vanity is worry and fear. Worry and fear. Why? Because I'm forgetting to live with this utter humility. I'm doing and I'm deserving instead of he is doing and he is deserving. This mogha, this vanity can and will and must be changed by yajna. Yajna is to know he. Yajna is to know virtues. Namaskara. Namaskara is to see he. To see virtues. We should be like Anasuya, Devi. It's wrong for me to remove that word Devi. She's so great. When she looks around, she sees no weaknesses in people. She only sees their strengths. Yajna, Namaskara, Kirtana. Kirtana means to live by the will of the Creator. Live virtuously. Kirtihi means policy. Kirtihi means prioritization. This should be the lighthouse of our every moment, every experience. Then that mogha, that vanity goes away, fear goes away, worry obviously goes away. I'm shifting from becoming to being. Someone who's engaged in yajna and namaskara and kirtana, that person is giving their resources, time, effort to the Creator, to virtues. And all that is given back. That was our portion on the yoga and kshema. You start to depend on Bhagwan, Bhagwan will make you independent. Give those resources, time and effort, and Bhagwan will give them back. Bhagwan and virtues are like a mirror. If you ignore Bhagwan, then it's as if Bhagwan ignores you. In prayer, we communicate with Bhagwan. And in contemplation, Bhagwan communicates with us. But if I don't initiate that dialogue in prayer, then in contemplation, I will not be able to hear Bhagwan. I will not be able to listen to Bhagwan. This is a most important point because if anyone comes across a teacher, a program that is teaching contemplation in the absence of Bhagwan, then know that we probably are just going to be hearing and listening to our own ego. And we won't even know it. Bhagwan is mandatory to reach Brahman. I wanted to share a very insignificant, perhaps to you, but significant expression of yoga and kshema in my own life where there was no communication. The week before I went to the Vedanta course, this is in the middle of August of 2005, my cousins, they import and export electronics, and they had a MP3 player. And they know that I'm fond of listening to music. While I was in university, I was able to accumulate 2,500 songs in an organized, well-labeled way. When Napster was legal, that's when I did all of this. When Napster became illegal, I stopped all of this. So this is a 1 gigabyte MP3 player. Now, 2,500 songs are not going to fit on this. I think it was only like 500 songs. So they said, you have to choose 500 songs and put it on here. So I spent a whole week contemplating on what 500 songs I'm going to choose because I'm going to have to listen to them, the same 500 songs for 1,000 days or 800 days. So that week was intense and enjoyable. Re-listening to all of these old songs, new songs. And I gave them this list, and they tried to put these songs on that MP3 player, but it just didn't work. So as I'm leaving my house to go to the Toronto airport, they got it to work and they gave it to me. And I listened to this MP3 player every night. I stopped eating dinner at the ashram because it was just taking too much time. So I would come into my room, create a fortress from people and mosquitoes to not come in, and I would just listen to these songs and write letters. Every week I would write a letter to Sheila, I would write to my parents, people would write to me. It was a lovely period of the day. After the Vedanta course, then I wandered around Bharat for 6 weeks, to Sri Ramana Ashram, to the Ellora caves, just being in love with Bharat before having to return to Canada. And I ended up in Kerala, spent a lot of time exploring the mandirs there, and I visited one of my batchmates who lived in Kerala. And during the course, to some of my batchmates, I introduced Pearl Jam to them. And they smiled and nodded like they liked them, and I didn't even care. That smile and nod was good enough for me. I would sit with them and explain these lyrics, and they'd like you in class, right? They are not in me. I'm not in them. So I'm leaving now. I'm leaving Kerala to go to Mumbai to fly back to Toronto. I'm packing my stuff. This is my last pack before I'm gonna unpack in Canada. And I'm looking at my MP3 player, and I gave it to her. I thought that, I'm gonna be back with my music. I can listen to this freely. She won't have access to this, so I thought, here, you keep this MP3 player. And she resisted, but she took it anyways. So Kerala to Mumbai, Mumbai to Milan, Milan to Toronto. I gather my bags. I come out of that, the area you pick up your bags and security and all of that, and those gates open, and Sheila's waiting there, and my parents and sister and friends and so on. And as soon as I came out, Sheila was the first one to come, and she brought a rose, which is quite tacky. And she brought an iPod Nano. Do you remember those? So I had not communicated with her. From the time I left Kerala to the time I arrived in Toronto, there was zero communication. And here I gave 1 gigabyte. And as soon as I arrived, I didn't know what an iPod Nano was. Because this all came out while I was studying. I didn't even know. She gave me this small device and said, you can listen to music on this. Okay. I got 4 gigabytes. And it may sound insignificant, but since then, it's grown in breadth and depth 1,000 times, 100,000 times. And we can do a full course on me just sharing my life experiences about the reality and truth about yoga and kshema. And I know the same is for you. If we pause and think, begin all that you've learned in the Bhagavad Gita course, specifically begin with chapter 9, specifically begin with bhakti. This is the most practical way to live. And once you begin living like this, we come to understand and appreciate the way we used to live was most impractical. Pleasure, attachment, fear, most impractical. The line I love the most in Guruji's writing in this chapter is, we all have an infinite potential of love and an available capital of it. Infinite potential of love. That's our nature. We simply have to have the purpose to release our potential. The more we need Bhagwan, the more we will need Bhagwan. The more we depend on Bhagwan, the more we will need to depend on Bhagwan. The more we love Bhagwan, the more we will love Bhagwan. And chapter 9 is a perfect conclusion to chapter 10, where Prince Arjuna wants more. He wants to know Bhagwan in all. Chapter 11, he wants to know all in one. Chapter 12, he wants to be that. And so the last 6 chapters of Srimad Bhagavad Gita explain to Prince Arjuna how he is that. He simply has to unlearn. He has to raise, reduce, redirect. Begin. Oh. Narayana.